Okay, so final round robin thing that we're going to talk about is really the question of so many people, question of the day,
century.
question of the decade, at least, because we have not been around for 100 years, at least, 9.5 years.
Have we not?
Nice try, Monica. That we know of. So obviously, people that are in this office, they know. People that aren't in this office and maybe have never experienced a session, maybe you don't know, but maybe you've kind of figured it out along the way. Have been implied. We do not do the traditional pop and crack osseous adjustment that 99% of chiropractors do, and we are not the only chiropractors that do this style or something more gentle in the body. There's a lot of amazing chiropractors do similar work, or maybe slightly a little bit different, working with the tone of the nervous system, the energetics. But a question we get all the time, and we just got it from a guy again the other day, like, why don't you crack? Why don't you pop?
Do you ever have the urge?
Do you ever have
to
the
crack?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, we want to just answer like our.
We're holding it back every
And,
time.
like,
I want
I'll
to
sh-
so bad. It's like a sneeze.
No, gentle.
Can't
Do We're laughing about it, but like, I definitely, and I'll share it in a little bit, like, I came from that place of like, former athlete, former baseball player, I liked the pop. A lot of people don't like the pop. So for me to get to this point of not doing it, something had to happen along the way. So like, I think we should just jam about it a little bit.
This feels like it should be a whole other episode.
It is,
Yeah.
but it is, and this will be the last
brief,
thing.
and then we'll do a whole one on it.
This will,
I
this
like
will,
that, yeah.
and I think we've already talked about it a little bit, but this will be a nice segment to add to. We can short clip it, but why don't we crack? Why don't we pop? And also, we do have a blog coming out on this that we're finalizing.
It is
That's gonna,
fire.
if you're a visual, learner and want to read about it, it's gonna come out soon.
I mean, I love this topic. I love chatting about it with people too, because I was all about it in chiropractic school. It made sense to me. We're like, bones out of alignment. We pop it back. Body functions better because the spine's so important, right? The spine's housing the spinal cord, all these peripheral nerves telling the body what to do, and the brain connection all made sense. But my one hang up and one problem was we pop it, we put it back in place, and then a day later, boom, it goes out again. And we pop it, we put it back. And it's just like, that's one way to do it. It's one way, but it didn't feel like a long lasting change. And, and sure, it feels good. It releases like these endorphins. You can hear it, you get that release, and then it goes right back. And so that was kind of like what that question is, what led me into this technique of what we do. And it's like, well, are we really integrating that tension, right? It's not just the bone sitting there by itself out of alignment. It's connected to the muscles and the fascia and the relationship to the other anatomy in your body. And so you have to look at it holistically. You have to look at the entire structure to make those changes. And then another step further is me making a change to you isn't going to be as long lasting as your body making the change. So let's maybe work with that. Work with that AI, ancient intelligence, like within your body, and facilitate the healing to happen. And that's true integration. That's true alignment in your spine, because now you're not, you still have that tension in the beginning. And then when you're integrating, naturally, your body wants to reorganize. And so you get that same longer lasting alignment. Every now and then, do I have the urge to crack and pop somebody? No. Like maybe, like honestly, sometimes, right? There's certain patterns in the body that we'll dive into that we're feeling like maybe it needs a more of an umph, but it's 5 to 10% of the
Small
time.
percentage then.
And on a personal level, I used to get cracked and popped all the time. And it feels so good. And then 5 days later, I had got that itch. I need to get cracked again. And then it feels so good. And then I got that itch. And honestly, a lot of people probably know what that feeling's like. I haven't had that itch in years, because my body's holding it. My body's integrating it. My body is different. It's not needing to be dependent on that outside in kind of thing. And again, not to knock traditional chiropractic. I love all chiropractic, and all those techniques have a beautiful place and serve a lot of people. This is just a way that is in more alignment for me.
I wish we didn't zip tie these mics, because I would love to just take it off and drop it. That was perfectly said.
That was an
Perfectly
amazing
said.
answer. So when I first got exposed to chiropractic, I actually helped open an office when I was 21, and it was traditional chiropractic office. Racking and cracking sounds like a ridiculous way to say it. You know what I mean? Osseously adjusting the body. That's what this person was
No one
doing.
knows what that means.
No one knows
It's
me.
like popping.
Osseous
You
bone.
mean-
know rack and
You mean
crack.
snap
I
pack?
know rack and
Yeah.
crack.
Snap, crackle, pop.
pop 'em.
Yeah, I got it.
They were snap, crackling, and popping. Yes. And that was kind of my first exposure at chiropractic. But what I loved about that office so much was just the intention and the mission behind it of like what you were saying, that when the bones go back in place, the whole nervous system functions better. And I'm like, I can get down with that. That felt like an instant truth for me, especially growing up, the complete opposite of not knowing my body healed itself and all these things. This office did the racking and cracking, but also weights even on like, let's say that your shoulders were off and your neck was reverse curved, then they would put weights on your head, on your shoulders, and make you do exercises and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, like I have a reverse curve. I had a reverse curve from all my soccer injuries and stuff like that. So, I mean, I did intensive stuff, you guys, like sometimes every day, intensive work on my neck, my whole body, weights. It was like a lot. And the crazy part is that 6 months later, my x-rays actually got worse.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, WTF? Like, that's crazy. And that was I kind of put a pin in it. And I was like, I understand there's something here for me. And I want to go to school myself to be a chiropractor to support people. Again, I love the mission. I love the intention. I love the vision of what this is for people's lives. But something's out of place. Like you were saying, I put it back in place. Why does it just go right back out? Halfway through school is when I learned about tonal and working with the energy of the nervous system. And when it made sense to me, when you help align the nervous system itself, the body will automatically align the bones, the muscles, the tissues, the fascia, all the things. And that's sustainable. And that made instant truth made so much sense to me. And at first it's all theory. You're like, okay, this sounds
Cool
great.
idea, yeah.
But then you actually have to work with people's systems, have it done to yourself to actually like see if it works. And it does.
It's hard. It is hard to conceptualize because that's just not our culture to be like, oh, take time and honor the nervous system and then it'll do it. That's just not. It's
I ain't
like
got
fix
time
it
for that.
now.
Or believing something outside of you is going to do the healing.
Right.
I
But
think
we
that's-
see it, I mean, all the time. Like people who start with their shoulders who come in right here and over time they start to naturally drop because, again, people are like, oh, my muscles are tight. Well, what's controlling your muscles? Being in a constant stressed out fight or flight state, your nervous system is like, we need our muscles to be tight in case something happens. So it's like getting the nervous system involved. We see the shoulders start to drop down. I remember this one woman had like severe scoliosis when she went face down on the table. Her legs were veered to one way. And then over time, naturally started to balance. I didn't force it into that balance, but she didn't need to hold that tension pattern anymore.
We've talked about this a lot with like the experience, right? Like you have to experience something to be able to like understand it. And so everything we're talking about is theory. I'm laughing at, and I want you to go after this, Erica. I'm laughing at the people that will go through this process and they come in and they have pain and they have other stuff, right? And a lot of times this happens, like the pain doesn't necessarily go away after 30 days or 60 days. It's better, but they still maybe deal with stuff here and there. Could they get popped and feel better? Absolutely. And maybe sometimes we could do that for them and maybe they go to chiropractor and do that. But if that's the case, then and this is a small percentage, but I'm just thinking about a handful of people. Why do those people stick around? If their pain's still there, and why do they stick around? It's because other things in their life have changed so dramatically. They're like don't even care about that little bit of elbow pain anymore, right? Like
they thought it was the elbow pain, but it was really their mental state that they've gotten into
Because of it.
that increased inflammation in the body, that increased pain and all of that.
And it's just like, for me, it's like, why don't we crack and pop? We can, and I can be that Band-Aid for you and you'll feel good. And there's a woman actually too that I'm saying elbow pain, like she's had a transformation and every once in a while I will adjust her elbow and it feels good. And then like 3-4 weeks later, that elbow pain will kind of come back. She's got some other stuff she's dealing with, but like, why don't we crack and pop and do that is because the way that we got taught to work with the medium of the nervous system and create coherence, like that is life changing, right? Your elbow hurts or doesn't hurt, not going to change much. But if you don't react to your family, you don't have stress and anxiety all the time.
You have more
like
joy, more energy, less fatigue.
Stuff. That's the stuff right there.
And then naturally, you're not going to be holding on to those, that you're not going to have the same pain patterns.
I think then you're more connected to yourself and you can ask bigger questions. Actually, why does my elbow always hurt after this one encounter with my boss? Then you can, you know what I mean? There's always a reason for everything.
100%.
And the answers are there.
I was going to say too, it's awesome to me when people, I think, first come in and maybe they go see a regular chiropractor and maybe they see us coinciding. And I remember whenever I was in school, this really made sense to me where with the nervous system, it's so infinite. I can't tell you in 2 days, 2 weeks, your back pain's going to be gone. And if I just focused on your back pain, the finite piece of that, how much of a disservice am I doing to the rest of your body in the areas where this is course correcting and compensating? But I loved popping and cracking in school. It was like I wanted
It's your personality.
I loved it. Like I was like, I loved it. It's hard to believe I'm not doing that today.
And can I
But
say one
both
thing?
of you-
It is so, like, I want to make sure everyone knows, and Lauren said it, it's not poo-pooing
Yeah.
on that. Like, what the chiropractors that do that, it's no different than a massage therapist that helps someone out of pain. Like, that is needed in this world. So, like, really giving credit to those people. So it's just the 1%
totally.
shift.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What I was going to say, though, is I think it's really interesting because I loved that. I loved those really big impulses. And then I learned this tensegrity tonal model, like mechanical, kind of what Monica was saying, the pop and crack, and tonal, looking at the tone or the whole system. And I would want to pop and crack these people. Like they would come in and I'd see them and I would start doing our tonal thing because it opened up the body, it put the nervous system in a parasympathetic state. And then I'd be like, all right, where am I popping and cracking? And before, when it used to take me like my whole body, I'm pretty small, to pop or crack somebody, now I'd be like, oh, it already went. And
I gave someone a hug the other day after their session. I just came like that and went,
It's just like naturally.
but I think it's like the body wants to always be reorganizing. And for me, it was becoming more of a disservice for me to tell people, like, come to me and I will fix this finite piece of you where I actually have no idea what your nervous system is going to unwind. And that is more of the ride we're on today. It's just a different way of looking at the body. And there's different things that work in different places and different times for people. But for me, I tried the pop crack method for myself and I tried to do it a lot for other people. And at the end of the day, life, I guess you could say, just kept throwing me back in this direction. And now we see people where they'll go see their traditional person or whatever it is, and they no longer need to get popped or cracked, or their scans, like the finite scan, all of a sudden is not reading the same. And we didn't even pop or crack them. We didn't do anything like that, but their body knew what to do. And with that, I'm like, that is a lifelong skill where you can actually trust and rely on the regulation process within yourself. I want that.
The perfect archetype I can think of who would like benefit from this, if you've gone to a traditional chiropractor and it's like, I can't get that one to move. Like, you know, it didn't go. That was like a very common thing. Like, did it go? Whenever you went to get that pop or crack in and it didn't go, it's because your system is so like, don't touch me. It is like, please do not do this. And then if you do get it to go from that place, do you think that's like really good for your body to receive something from a place of, you know? So like that person, and I actually had a client early on who has been to traditional chiropractors for 10 plus years, had like, no one can crack me. No one can crack me. I was like, well, me either. But face down. And after one session, she's like, I've never felt this good in my body in my entire life, because her system wasn't needing that big force. It was needing a gentle accessing and unwinding, you know, and that's a lot of people.
I really like that. You talk about this a lot, and I want you to kind of talk about how chiropractic came to be.
That's about what I was
go
going to say.
ahead. You're better at it than me.
Okay, here we go. This made a lot of sense to me. When chiropractic was founded, it was the late 1800s into the early 1900s. What was going on during that time? Life was a little different than it is today, right? Especially in the early 1900s, and 1800s, war, right? There's a certain energy, vibration, and density of that time. Like, just think about people at war. It's like close, compact. They don't care about going out and frolicking for, you know, berries or whatever, right? That, especially during that time. That's an awful example, but you get what I'm trying to say. So the adjustment during that time was very forceful to break up all of that, you know, density within the system. So that makes sense. But now we fast forward, we're not in that time necessarily for, you know, most of the world, right? We have screens that have also affected, you know, the way that our energy, vibration, and frequency is. Our systems are much more sensitive than they ever have been. And this is why this gentle approach can be so impactful and powerful, because we have evolved as human beings. And like, I always think about too, like when someone asks, like, how does this gentle, you know, process make a change? I'm like, some of the most powerful things in the world are things that you can't even see, and things you can't necessarily touch. Like, when someone loves you, what does that do to you? It moves you, right? Someone says something nasty and negative, that'll move you also as well. So like, our systems are so sensitive that this gentle guiding, and that's what what started this whole process. I got adjusted by Dr. Suki on that trip, and I saw him doing it to other people. I'm like, this freaking guy, freaking
He was
weird.
like, that's so weird.
That's a
Stay
quack
away,
right there.
Monica.
That guy's and shout out Suki, I love
Monica's
you.
the first one on the table.
I was
I'll sign
drawn.
up.
I was all into it.
And then he did his thing, touched me firm, but gentler than I had been used to getting an adjustment. And I felt stuff moving. And I, for some reason in that moment, was open. I was open to something different. And I also knew, maybe subconsciously, my wife's into this. So I got to I got to get along the ride.
I have an example of this that is really powerful. So I grew up, again, with the neck stuff from soccer, really bad migraines in my teens, early 20s and stuff like that. And there was always this point, I don't even know how often it happened, where like my occiput, which is where the bottom of your skull sits, basically where it meets your spinal column. So right above the first bone in your spinal column, your occiput. And it would always like hurt me, and I would get these huge migraines, and I would just be like, oh my gosh. And I would have Matt adjust that area, move the bones, crack my skull, basically. And I feel like I really needed that. And it would probably happen every few weeks.
Every week.
And this is a shout out to Suki, because he's the one who really has supported us with this process, because it's very different from how most people practice, and you can't really find many people who really stick to it. You know what I mean? It's just rare. It's rare.
It's hard to translate it to the real world, right? To communicate it to people to use the service. The other form is easier to share.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so we were actually on vacation with Suki and his family, and it happened again. And Suki had told Matt, he was like, don't do it.
Don't do it, bro.
Don't crack the occiput. Just like let it be, especially if it's all the time kind of thing. Let the body process through it. And I was like so mad. I'm like, oh, but I need it. Like I'm in so much pain, blah, blah, blah. And I knew the answer was not to do it. So like I just sat there and like meditated and let my body process through it. It kind of took a couple days for it to move through my body, but it has never freaking happened again since that moment in that way. That's also the power of honoring your body. If you're doing all the right things to help regulate your nervous system, and there's a pattern with like the bones and stuff like that, like it will go back into place if we just give it so much attention and we want it fixed right away. That's when it just sticks around, and that's when it's an issue, basically. So that was just a really cool story, again, for me to be like, this works. This absolutely works.